Hello there, so in today's video we're going to be talking about credit scores. I've had a few people recently ask me how can I improve my credit score, and so in this video today I'm going to explain what your credit score is, how to check it, and more importantly what you can do to improve it. I've got a list of tips, and at the end I've got one killer tip that I will explain to you that when I have explained this to people in person they seem genuinely surprised by, so you may also be surprised. This may be something that you're completely unaware of, and like I say, that's my big tip at the end as your bonus tip if you like. If you're new to this channel, welcome. My name's Andy, and on this channel I like to talk about money and success. If you're interested in making, saving or investing money, please be sure to hit that subscribe button down below, hit the notification bell, and then you'll get notified every time I release a new video. And if you enjoy this video and find it useful, please remember to give it a thumbs up, because that helps YouTube algorithm, which in turn helps me, and I really do appreciate it. Thank you very much. Right, so without any further ado, let me dive straight in, and let's start by saying, what is your credit score? Your credit score is created from information held in your credit report, also known as your credit file. Your credit score can differ between lenders or even between different products from the same lender. It depends on the criteria used in assessing you as a potential customer. And in the UK, there are three main credit rating agencies. So the three credit rating agencies in the UK, as you can see, are Experian, Equifax and TransUnion. Experian gives you a score of between 0 and 999, Equifax gives a score of between 0 and 700, and TransUnion gives a score of between 0 and 710. And in all cases, the higher the score, the better it is, essentially, the better the credit rating. Now, I don't want you to get too hung up on your credit rating, because if you're looking to borrow money, it's not all about your credit rating. Although I am going to tell you specifically how you can improve that in this video, you need to bear in mind that lenders also take other things into account. So I want to run through those with you first, because those are also important when applying for credit. If you want to get a mortgage, for example, which in many instances that's what people ask me about, they say, I want to get a mortgage, what do I need to do to improve my credit score? It's not just your credit score that they will be looking at. And so let me just run through that list with you as well, because I think that's important that you know. So as you see, it's not all about your credit score. When deciding to lend to you or not, lenders look at information requested in their application form. Now that's an important thing, information they've requested in their application form. Now, if you were applying for a mortgage, for example, they may even ask you for your last 12 months bank statements, and they will be looking through those bank statements. So if you have not managed your finances well, you can expect that to go against you. Now, if you've seen my previous video, how to budget and manage money, I'll put a link up there and in the description down below to that, then you will already have a good system in place. But the long and short of it is, don't go into the red, keep a healthy balance in your current account, have savings accounts set up so that you are saving things rather than spending on money that you don't have and going into the red, using your overdraft all of the time, or past your overdraft, which is even worse. Make sure that what you are spending is within your means, because that's one of the things that certainly mortgages will look at. And mortgage companies, have had them before, where they won't just take your current account, they'll actually ask for your savings accounts, as well as they'll ask for bank statements from multiple different bank accounts. So they will be looking at those kind of things. And so you need to be aware of that and manage your finances sensibly, because there is that element to it as well. It's not just necessarily a matter of looking at a credit score and saying, yes, the numbers above this we'll lend, or no, it's below that, we won't lend. Now, for lesser things like getting a credit card, for example, they're not going to ask for your bank statements. So that's a lot easier to get. They look at your past history with that lender. So if you've got any history at all with that lender, they will take that into account and look at it. So for example, if you were just going for a simple bank loan, if it's with the bank that you're already banking with and you keep a healthy balance, maybe you've got multiple accounts, and you're using the system like I described in my How to Budget and Save Money video. If you're using that kind of a system and they can see, actually, this person is very responsible, they're saving up money, they're living within their means, then you're much more likely to obviously pass when it comes to applying for a loan with that particular lender. And of course, that information does as well get fed back to your credit file. So your credit score will be higher if you are managing your finances sensibly as well. So these things are kind of interlinked. Information held on your credit file will also be taken into account. And the information held on your credit file, this includes court records such as County Court Judgements or CCJs, decrees, IVAs, bankruptcies, and other court debt orders. They indicate if you have a history of debt problems quite clearly. If you've defaulted on your rent and the landlord has given you a CCJ, then that's going to show up on your credit file, and the lender is going to look at that and say, this person is not responsible, they didn't pay their rent on time, or they didn't pay their council tax on time, or whatever it was you didn't pay on time that caused you to get a CCJ. that is going to be held against you when applying for credit. And whilst there are lenders that will lend to you with those things, you can be sure they'll charge you a much higher rate for it. And generally speaking, you won't get any kind of sensible credit. Certainly you won't be getting a mortgage. That would be very unlikely. So you want to do everything you can to avoid that situation ever occurring, which we'll be going through in the tips section a little bit later. Electoral roll information. Now this is public available and it contains things such as your address, where you live, search address and linked data, so records of other lenders that have searched your file, addresses you are linked to, and other people you have financial association with. So if you have a linked financial product with somebody else, say your partner, you and your partner have a joint credit card, then you would be financially linked. So now your credit file is linked to their credit file. So if they have a credit issue, you will also borrow their bad credit issue, and it will negatively affect your credit file. So if your partner has bad credit because say they're massively overdrawn, or say they've got a CCJ or have been declared bankrupt, then you may want to not be associated with them from a credit point of view, which I'll go through a little bit later in the video in my tips section. Fraud data. So if you've committed fraud or someone has stolen your identity and committed fraud, this will be held on your file under the CIFAS section. Obviously there's a moral there, don't commit fraud. If someone has stolen your identity and committed fraud, then get in touch with the credit reference agencies and request that that is removed. Obviously you will need to follow their process and they'll be able to let you know what that process is. Some history of your utility phone providers. So these may leave a footprint on your credit file. So when you move from utilities, that may leave a footprint on your credit file. It's nothing really to worry about. I'm just making you aware of it, that your lenders may get to see that information. So now the part you've been waiting for, tips on how to improve your credit score. So first thing to do, I suppose, is just simply check what your credit score actually is. I'll put links in the description down below so that you can check all three of the credit reference agencies. Personally, I think there's not really a great need to check all three. Checking one will do. I personally like Experian, but it really depends on who you're borrowing from. The bigger agencies tend to be Experian and Equifax. Those are the two that seem to be checked the most, certainly with places that I've borrowed money from. But if you know specifically where you're borrowing money from and which credit referencing agency that particular lender checks with, then that's the credit reference agency where you want to check your file for. So again, I'll put links in the description down below so you can click through and see how to check your credit score. Once you've got that, you know if you need to improve it. If you've got a perfect score already, well done. If not, then continue through these tips. So let's go with these. So first easy tip is register to vote. It's the simplest thing you can do. Why do lenders want you to register to vote? They don't care who you vote for. That's irrelevant. What they're interested in is that you've put down roots and you have a solid address. They want to be able to find you. If they can see you have lived here for a prolonged period of time and then you moved to another address and you updated where you moved to, they know that if you default on lending, they will be able to find you and serve you a CCJ or chase you to essentially get their money back. Because you have to remember, a lender is a business. So what they want to do is lend to people that are going to pay them the money back with interest, because that's how they make their money. That is the business they are in. If they think they're going to lend to you and there's a chance that you're going to disappear, they're not going to want to lend to you. So being on the electoral roll shows that you are not trying to hide, and it makes you easier to find. And that is a big plus, and that will boost your credit rating. And that's probably the quickest, easiest thing you can do to increase your credit rating. Bear in mind, there is a time lag. So once you've done it, expect to wait 4 to 6 weeks before you see any improvement on your credit score. So there's no point in clicking and checking your credit score every day. Check it, then come back and check it in a few months. And I should just say on all of these tips, when it comes to improving your credit score, if you're planning to borrow, say for a mortgage, plan well in advance. So if you've watched my LISA video, again, I'll put a link up there and the description down below. Then you're obviously saving to buy a property. That's great. So you're planning in advance, and that's exactly what you should be doing. And you should also be planning to make sure your credit is right, so that when it comes to that time when you want to take a mortgage, your credit is in a good place, your finances are in a good place, you've got your deposit together, and you're able to get yourself the best possible mortgage deal and the best possible interest rate with that mortgage. Because the better your credit score, the better interest rate you're going to be able to get. Simple as that. If you're not eligible to vote, then send all 3 credit reference agencies proof of residency. So that's utility bills, a UK driving licence, and ask them to add a note to verify this, so that they at least have a record of where you live. Because, as I said, they need to know that. and that will improve your credit score. That is your quickest, easiest way to improve your credit score. Register to vote. Or let the credit referencing agencies know where you live and prove that to them. Pay all bills on time and never miss a payment. Now, this is especially important with any loans, credit cards, bills, mortgages. I'd also add in there, make sure you pay your rent on time, make sure you pay your council tax on time, because councils and landlords can both put CCJs against your credit file, which will of course hurt your credit score. So anywhere where there's a risk of any kind of judgment like that, make sure you have paid. As long as you've paid, you should be fine. You can check your credit score to see if any such thing is on there, and from time to time mistakes can happen, and if there is a mistake on your credit file, then you can request that it be removed, and you just contact the relevant credit reference agency and request that they remove it, and they will talk you through the process of how to do that. But obviously, if it's a genuine thing that has been added, if you really do have a county court judgment, then you won't be able to remove it, and it will essentially wreck your credit score. So the best thing to do is avoid it happening in the first place by ensuring you always pay all of your bills on time, especially any of the ones relating to credit. Okay, so at this point, I just want to interject with a couple of extra points. You can tell this is a different Andy. This is editor Andy here because I've got my editor's hat on. I've been looking through this video and I've noticed a couple of things that I just want to add in to make sure that it's super clear for everybody watching. So the first thing is CCJs or county court judgments. You would know if you had a county court judgment or CCJ because you would have been written to by whoever you owe the money to many times in advance and then asked to attend court. And it's at the court where you would have been issued with a CCJ. And in case you're thinking, well, if I just don't go to court, I won't get it. That's not the case at all. If you don't attend, you'll almost certainly get a CCJ. So the best thing to do is when you get written to asking for money, someone telling you you owe them money, then make sure that you understand what it is. Make sure if you owe the money, you get it paid. And if you don't owe the money, contact the company and tell them that you don't owe the money, and hopefully they'll be able to agree with that. I've had that happen a couple of times ourselves, whereby we've had companies contact us saying that we owe money that we actually did not owe, and once you get in touch with them, they realise the mistake, it's all rectified and everything is good in the world. So that's really what your ideal outcome is. But obviously, if it's your own bank or your credit card that's contacted you and it's legitimate, I mean, obviously there are fraudsters out there, so be wary of that as well. As you know, if you're just getting contacted randomly from something you've never heard of, then actually that's something to report rather than anything else. But if the council is getting in touch with you, or say you've not paid your rent on time, then obviously you need to get your rent paid. If your council tax has not been paid, you need to pay your council tax. If you've not paid your credit card, you're going to need to contact your credit card company and explain why you've not paid your credit card. If you need, a payment plan arranging or something, get in touch with them. But if it's a genuine mistake, the money was in the bank, it didn't go out, get in touch with them, get it paid a few days later. Your credit card company may even say, oh, that's fine, and they might actually remove that misdemeanor, if you like, from your credit file before it even gets to be a CCJ. Speaking of which, missed payments, that's my next thing. So say you've missed a payment on a bank loan or on your credit card, for example. If you have missed a payment, that will of course show on your credit file. The best thing to do there, if it was only by a few days, contact the company and ask that it be removed. It may well be, if you've had a good record previously, they may do that for you. When I say the company, I mean your credit card or the bank that you have the loan with. And if that fails, then the best thing to do is just make sure you keep paying it in full each month. Ideally, your credit card should always be paid in full. If you can't afford to pay it in full, stop using it and pay as much as you can off until you can pay it in full. But pay as much as you can each month so that it has payments every month on time, importantly. And once that missed payment or that late payment is over 6 months old, it will have less effect on your credit score. So your credit score will go up a little bit. And once it's over 12 months old, again, it will have even less effect on your credit score. So your credit score will go up a little bit more because you will have shown 6 or 12 months worth of essentially good behavior, if you like, of paying on time. And that is obviously a bonus when it comes to looking at your credit score. Obviously, what you really want is perfect, but the further away the mistake was, the less of an impact it has on your credit file. So hopefully that puts your mind at ease. And if you're watching this wondering, well, why is he wearing a hat? It's simply to keep my head warm. I have done my hair today. Don't worry, folks. I'm still looking just as good as usual. Now let's get back onto the tips. Be careful who you link your credit file with. So as I said, alluded to earlier, who your credit file is linked to is an important factor, because if you have a joint credit card or a joint bank with your partner, then you are financially linked. Oddly, just living in the same house doesn't financially link you. Just being married doesn't financially link you. You have to actually have a financial product together. So you could have taken out a loan in joint names, or you could have taken out a credit card in joint names, or you could have opened a bank account in joint names, or you may have a joint mortgage. Presumably, if you have a joint mortgage, you're probably not likely to be watching this video. But if you have any joint financial product together in joint names, your finances have been linked. If you've had a joint financial product with someone in the past, your finances may still be linked. So if you've split up with somebody and you have severed those links, you no longer have a joint account, you no longer have a joint credit card, you no longer have a joint anything financial anymore, then contact the credit referencing agencies and request that you be delinked, essentially. And that's what the last bullet point here is. If you have split up with someone, ensure your credit files are separated too. Once your finances are no longer linked, write to the credit reference agencies and ask for a notice of disassociation. Because if they go out and get themselves into masses of debt and don't pay it back, or get county court judgments made against them, that will hurt their credit score. And if their credit file is linked to yours, it will indirectly affect your score as well and affect your ability to borrow money, which obviously isn't what you want. So now for your super bonus tip, and this is the one that may well surprise you: get a credit card. If you do not already have a credit card, get one. Now, I want to really stress with this the importance that you use the card correctly. Do not get a credit card and then just go and blow it on a whole host of random things that you really can't afford and really don't need, okay? Only buy things that you have saved up for. So if you're going to buy a new phone, then make sure you have saved up for that new phone first. Then by all means, buy it on the credit card, as long as the next month you pay it off in full. So here are my rules for what to do with the credit card once you've got it. Have a direct debit set up to pay off the balance in full each month. Notice I said in full each month, never the minimum balance. If you pay off just the minimum balance, that will harm your credit score. So it is super important that you pay the credit card off in full each month, and I recommend having it set up on a direct debit to pay off the full balance every single month. Never spend more on the card than you have available to pay it off. So always make sure that whatever amount you spend on that credit card, you have enough money in your bank account that the direct debit is set up from to pay it off in full, remember. Never spend more than that. So an easy way to do that is to just use the credit card for essential spending. So for buying your petrol, buying your food, literally your weekly food shop, that could be the only thing you put on your credit card. And if that's all you put on your credit card every week, you should be fine, because providing you're spending the same amount as you usually spend, and providing you're living within your means and you have a budget so that you have enough money in your bank account to pay for that standard of living, then when that time comes that credit card needs to be paid off in full, which it should be happening automatically by a direct debit, then you should be absolutely fine and it will be paid off in full. And each time it's paid off in full like that, your credit score will go up a little bit. And a really good tip to boost your credit score even more is if you've saved up for something, such as say you've saved up for a new car, say you watched my budgeting video and you saved for a new car, and let's say for argument's sake your new car is a few £1,000s. If you pay that on your credit card and then pay it off in full the next month, that will boost your credit score, because they can see you're able to pay off in full larger and larger amounts. But obviously if you haven't saved up, do not be getting the car on the credit card. That would be completely dumb. Don't do it, okay? Save up first. Literally live within your means is a key thing. Only spend on that credit card what you can pay off. So if you don't have the savings set aside to pay off whatever it is you're buying on the credit card, do not buy it on the credit card. That's your golden rule. Please stick to that. Never just pay the minimum balance. I can't stress that enough. Paying the minimum balance on a credit card will damage your credit score. While I'm on that topic, one other thing that will also damage your credit score are payday loans. Please, for the love of God, do not take out any payday loans ever, okay? Payday loans, they're evil things, quite frankly. Just don't do it. The interest rates are phenomenally high. It will cost you an absolute fortune, and just please don't do it. It signals essentially to a lender that you are desperate for money if you've taken out a payday loan. If you need to borrow money, there are always better ways to borrow money than a payday loan. A bank loan from your own bank will always be a much lower interest rate. And if your own bank won't lend you money, then maybe speak to a friend, but get your finances in order. Watch my budgeting video. and get yourself in order so that you are able to afford the standard of living, maybe even adjust the standard of living down a little bit so that you can live within your means. Anyway, I hope you found that helpful. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye. You would have been... Okay, start that again. Okay there, so this is editing and... Okay. Make sure people get the best out of this video. Get the best, get the most. Let's try that again. Or to pay in... Oh my God, I'm messing this. Am I messing this up or am I messing this up? I mean, how difficult is it? I've got two things I want to tell them. Just two things. I've spent 10 minutes talking to the phone and yeah. Genius, Andrew, genius. I've even got my hat on. My brain's warm. Are you ready? We're going to go again.